Kevin versus food. My friend is a Kevin, plain and simple. He's constantly amazing me at how completely stupid he is. This is his most recent blunder, and I still cannot stop thinking about it, so let's go. Me, Kevin, and a few of my friends decided to eat at KFC one day, because we all like fried chicken. In my state, indoor eating is allowed, so we ordered and sat down. You see, Kevin also doesn't seem to understand how viruses work, because once our food was ready, he pulled out a bottle of hand sanitizer. I thought, okay, he's just cleaning his hands before he eats, no big deal. But this boy begins pouring the sanitizer into his food. He didn't just drop a little bit, he poured out the entire bottle. It was just swimming in hand sanitizer. We all just stared at Kevin, not saying a word for a solid minute, trying to process what this man had just done. We all burst out laughing and Kevin said, and I quote, "I gotta keep myself healthy. Look, I'm all for staying safe, but you are doing the complete opposite of what he was supposed to." I made sure he didn't take a single bite of that food, or he probably could have died. But you want to know the best part? You want to know where he got that idea from? Somebody jokingly told him over Xbox Live that if you put hand sanitizer in your food, that the sanitizer would fight the virus, and Kevin took his word as gospel. Moral of the story, don't eat hand sanitizer and don't believe anything you hear over Xbox Live. Kevin tries to start a revolution at work. This is about something that went down at work about a month ago. I work in tech support. Specifically, I sit at a department called back office, which is more of a second line support, meaning we handle more advanced tickets, but most of this story happened at the service desk, which is the first line support. It all started one morning when we got an email from the CEO, which said that there had been a whistleblower report leveled at the bosses of the service desk and back office departments. The CEO informed us that they are taking these matters seriously and are currently investigating them. The whistleblower had also presented themselves as a speaker for lots of people's combined complaints. According to the report, the back office boss was threatening employees, running the department like a dictator and creating a culture of fear in the department. The report further claimed that the employees of the back office were all scared of her and that no one dared to speak against her for fear of retribution. This came as news to us at back office, who honestly had no idea what they were talking about. Our boss is first of all like 5'3" and a bit on the skinny side. Second, she is nice to a fault. Some employees are kind of bossing her around. I don't think she's capable of threatening someone. As for the service desk boss, I've honestly never even met her. I started working here just as the pandemic broke out and people started working from home. I can't speak for the validity of her accusations, but since the accusations were leveled at the service desk boss, and accusations of our boss was specifically mentioned when she was the temporary boss of the service desk department, we were pretty sure the whistleblower was someone at service desk. Fast forward a week or so, and we got another email. This one was from an employee at service desk. Let's call him Kevin. The email was just a link to a Facebook group. It was sent to the entire office at 2 a.m. I ignored it at first, believing it to be some social group for all employees. Then I spoke to a coworker who urged me to take a look. And holy crap, was it worth it. Kevin had created a Facebook group where he wrote about the awful working conditions we suffered. He never explicitly states to be the whistleblower, but uses a lot of the same wording as the report. For example, presenting himself as a leader of a larger group. English is not our first language, but he wrote it all in English for some reason, and his English was awful. He wrote, "We're 6 people right now leading the pack, and I am the spokesman for all of those people." Quoted verbatim. Maybe he believed that this was going to become so huge it would reach international news or something. At the time, the group had 2 members, himself and another service desk employee, who probably joined by mistake since he later left. Kevin also wrote that he had contacted journalists and that he was going to start a fundraising project for a lawyer. The crown jewel of the group was a recording of a digital meeting he had with the back office boss, while she was temporarily boss of service desk. Apparently, Kevin had a long history of misconduct. To rectify this, they had established a plan for him to improve, and had regular meetings to make sure he stuck to the plan. This was one of the meetings he had recorded. In the recording, Kevin repeatedly complained why they were after him for every little thing he did wrong, to which the boss calmly explained because he did so many wrong things, especially since a lot of them were repeat offenses that he had already been written up for once. Furthermore, Kevin stated that the boss wasn't allowed to bring up some of the offenses because he had already cleared those up with the service desk boss, and she said that it was fine. Back office boss explained that yes, it was fine as long as he didn't repeat it, which he had then done. Kevin also gave off some kind of sexist vibe and generally had the attitude that he didn't respect her authority. But the best part came at the end when the following exchange went down. Kevin, I just want us to understand each other because if things don't improve soon, I will get sick of this. Boss, sorry, what do you mean I will get sick of this? Kevin, I'm just saying that I will get sick of this and I am holding you to that. Boss, what are you saying? Kevin, I'm done here. End call. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a threat to me. It started off as a vague statement, but when he refused to explain it, it became a threat. I don't know why he would post something like this. It very clearly made him look bad. Extra so with all the information about his repeated misconduct, the boss looked like a patient angel next to him. I tried to find a way to save the recording. I was certain he would at some point realize what a mistake it was to post something like that, and I felt it could strengthen the boss' defense if she had easy access to that recording. Sadly, Facebook wouldn't let me save it. As it turns out though, Kevin's crusade against our boss was just getting started. He posted a screenshot of an email conversation with him and a higher ranking boss where he stated that he didn't want to have his meeting with back office boss alone because he felt threatened by her. The higher ranking boss said that back office boss was there as a representative of the company, but that he was free to include a union rep if he wanted one. She even offered to make sure to postpone the meeting to make sure he could arrange that. According to Kevin, this was just confusing legal mumbo jumbo. Again, quoted verbatim. The screenshot also included the boss's full name and company email addresses uncensored. And this was a public Facebook group. Kevin then posted a link to a blog that talked about how to spot if someone was possessed by Jezebel, as in the biblical Jezebel, and how possessed people would present as manipulative and threatening. So Kevin was basically implying our boss was possessed by a demon. If I was a CEO, I would have considered this guy a security risk at this point and have security escort him out of the building. But he stayed. Next up was another recorded meeting with back office boss. This time it was revealed that he had tried to cheat with his time reporting. One day he had been 30 minutes late. After clocking in, he had opened up the program and manually changed his check-in time to make it look like he was on time. He denied this and said he was only 30 minutes late, as if that's much better. The boss pointed out that the logs clearly showed that he edited it and that he could check the log himself if he didn't believe her. He refused to do so. The company also allows us to take up to an hour of every week to go exercise. Kevin had claimed this hour on a day where he only worked 2 hours. The boss said that it's not against the rule, but it's frowned upon as they prefer you to take it when you work longer days. Kevin blew up about this and asked why they were prosecuting him for something that is allowed. The boss again calmly explained that he is not being prosecuted for it. They are simply asking him not to do it again, especially not mixed with all other misconduct. Lastly, they talked about how Kevin had forgotten his laptop charger at home one day and had to go home during the lunch break to get it. The bosses had asked him to check out if he was going to take longer than the 1 hour break. Kevin had promised he would be back on time. His phone activity showed that he had been over an hour late and tried to get away with it by not telling anyone. When asked about this, Kevin tried to excuse himself that since he had spent his lunch break traveling back and forth from his home, he had to take extra time to eat lunch. He went as far as to ask her if she wanted him to starve. She simply responded, "No, we wanted you to check out when you traveled home. We don't want you to try to claim a salary for going home to pick up something you forgot." After that, Kevin mostly just posted some random self-grandizing post where he talked about how rough he had it and how brave he was for speaking out. He really didn't seem to understand his post did nothing but make him look worse. I don't know if a single person agreed with him that we had poor working conditions. Kevin asked others to email him their stories so he could post them anonymously in the group. No story was ever posted. Yet Kevin still talked about this as if he was leading some glorious revolution against some tyrants. When the CEO sent out an email saying that the whistleblower investigation was concluded and that the conclusion was that there was no grounds for the accusations, Kevin was not happy. He made a lengthy post about how the bosses were all liars who protected each other from fault, then concluded by saying that it's not over. Journalists were mostly certainly digging into their misconduct and would soon blow this case wide open. After that, I went on vacation for a month and mostly forgot about it. According to my co-worker, he posted one more meeting. In this meeting, it's revealed that he was caught manipulating the call logs, reporting calls as being longer than they really were, or even making fake calls to excuse not working. Employees can do this, but they keep logs of all alterations. His name was all over the thing. I don't know the exact details, but I never got to listen to this myself. My next interaction with this came last Monday when I returned to work. I was greeted by an inbox full of emails to sort through and found a really odd one. It simply said, "Unfortunately, I have to reschedule our meeting. I hope you understand." It was sent during my first week of vacation. I was confused as to what meeting that was. Then I recognized the name, Kevin McKevin, and it all came back to me. The email wasn't even addressed to me. It was sent to the CEO, and Kevin CC'd the entire office. Who sends an email like that to the CEO? He didn't even give a reason for why he needed to reschedule. I looked for the Facebook group to see if there were any new developments, but the group was gone. I spoke to my co-worker about it, and he informed me about the last recording and told me that the group had gone down last week. That meeting that Kevin tried to reschedule was a meeting where the company was going to fire him. Apparently, their incredible patience with this buffoon had finally come to an end. So I am sad to report that the leader of the Popple has fallen. Kevin thinks the past should not affect decision making and other bad decisions. Real world example of this Kevin's behavior. He needed a place to stay and my maid needed someone to help pay the rent, so he moved in. Apart from a few minor dietary habits, such as walking around the house drinking chocolate milk from a 2-liter bottle and not putting it back in the fridge as the sour smell slowly grows, it seemed to be fine. In the meantime, he wasn't getting what he considered an adequate wage from taxi driving, which is fair. He got a job at a bakery. But then he decided to go the whole hog and started gambling online. He had a system, you see. But the system still needed refining. A lot. He was shoveling money into it and still not getting a return. But to ask him, he was just a few days away from getting the big jackpot. But he didn't have the money to make it work, so he borrowed from a loan shark. We didn't know about this part. So he lost that money too, didn't tell anyone, had no way of paying it back, went to my mate and said, "Oh, I might be moving out in the next few weeks." My mate said sure, it wasn't a big deal, and he figured he would be able to just tighten his belt a little. The next morning, after my mate went to work, Kevin went around to the power and phone companies and had everything cut off, and got the bond for each of them back. Then he grabbed his pre-packed bags and vanished down south. I'm guessing he had been getting "where's my money" from the loan shark. My mate gets home, everything is turned off, everything in the fridge is either spoiled or well on the way there. He has to run around, get everything reconnected, restock the fridge, and cover rent that month. Not a happy camper. So then, a few weeks later, he gets a knock on the door. "Are you Kevin?" These are big guys wearing white shirts with ties, very politely, but they're ripped as fuck, and he can see the tats through the white material. He's fully aware of who and what they are, and he's able to start making a guess as to why they're there. He invited them in, proves that he is not Kevin, then shows them documentation of what Kevin pulled on him. They're sympathetic, and on the way out, one of them gives him a card. "If you ever found out where it's gone, give us a call." He puts the card on the fridge. A few months later, Kevin calls from where he's vanished to, asking for his share of the rental bond. Never mind that he never put any money into it in the first place, so my mate says, "Sure, where can I mail it to?" Kevin rattles off an address. "No worries, it will be on your doorstep before you know it." My mate hangs up, takes the card off the fridge, and makes a call. So, you wanted to know where Kevin was. That Christmas, he got a card from the loan shark with $500 in it.